Joel and Midge have a moment, and then they wake up, and then they're married, because you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. So, hands, stay tuned as we discuss The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel Season 3, Episode 4!
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hey everybody, I'm Rachel Goodman, and with me as we discuss The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, we've got this amazing panel. We've got Loren, who loves the show so much that he named his cat Mrs. Maisel.
At The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Yes, and as you might see up on the screen, there's a picture of his kitty. There we go.
Hi!
Maisel. And we've got Ashley, who is our resident pastrami lover, which is also Midge's favorite sandwich.
Yes.
Yeah, so guys, we're going to dive right in here, but before we do, be sure to stay tuned until the end. We're going to do news, we have our Women in Comedy segment, and our predictions. Let's dive on in, because we have some exciting things that happened this episode.
I know. It was so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. So first of all, let's talk about Susie, and let's talk about how she is now getting into gambling.
Yes.
How can you not when you're in Vegas? And there's so many fun slot machines, and I feel like they're just taking over that city.
Yeah, and we kind of see this progression with her where she's come to a new city. Mm-hmm. She doesn't know anything about gambling, really. Yeah. So Ramsey, the dealer, it's interesting how she goes from this moment where he kind of has to show her how to do everything and explain this whole hands thing, and just, it's very fascinating watching her grow in this environment.
Yeah, the writing is so sharp, and especially that scene, how she's like, what's this? What's that? What's the other thing? Come on, tell me.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know much about craps or gambling. I know a little bit about poker, but just watching her learn everything else is kind of a learning experience for me, too.
Same.
So I'm finding it quite interesting.
I know, I loved it. It was so fast-paced and just fun, and being out on the floor of the casino like that back in the old days where it was like old-time, really cool, old Hollywood Vegas. Yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really did their research, because if you look at old videos of Vegas, it looks like the way that they've portrayed it.
Definitely.
So we have Susie. We'll talk a little bit more about her later. Mm-hmm. Let's touch on everything going on first with the drag racing, because that was pretty interesting. And we were talking before, and Loren, and I guess you had mentioned about the reference that they're making.
To Rebel Without a Cause, right? Yeah. Kind of similarities. But the thing that really struck me the most was you could put beer and ice in the trunk of a car back in those days. Didn't know that. That was what I took out of that whole scene.
Oh my God, I love that you took that away.
Just kind of going back to Susie, we were talking about why they might have showed this scene. Yeah. And to me, it's important that we're seeing how Susie is scared of certain things, yet at the same time, she will take charge and she'll fill roles that are traditionally male-dominated. Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So, yeah.
She's such, I don't know, just kind of a badass in every other sense. And then she's scared of, the plane. And then she's scared of, racing in a car. I don't know. She gets these fears that are so interesting. And it shows her vulnerable side, which is kind of nice, too, because we want to see Susie like that, because she is so lovable at the end of the day, even though she is kind of a brute and, says anything that's on her mind at any time and is not sorry for it. But this kind of shows her a little bit more feminine vulnerability and everything like that, so...
She's one of my favorite characters, but I think what irked me in this episode is when she was handling the pay. Because they get this check, they discover that, they kind of feel like it's not right. When she goes to, so Susie's like, all right, I'm going to go take care of it, blah, blah, blah. She actually gets down to the payroll, I guess it's the payroll department or wherever Angie is, which I was...
Food and beverage manager.
Yeah.
Not a gangster.
Right.
Let's be clear.
She gets down there, and I think what made me, irritated is that she didn't stand up for the fact that they were not paid the right wage, and Angie seemed willing to work with her. Like, he was like, oh, yeah, like, I'll take care of it. And she was so scared of what he could do to her for asking that she was like, nope, you're good. I think you paid me too much. But it's like, no, Susie, you're not. This isn't just for you. This is also about what's going on with Midge. And, like, if you're not just, you're speaking on her behalf.
Yeah, you have to have her best interest at heart. And, yeah, she definitely was not standing up for her or herself. But I would be terrified, too, honestly, if we were really dealing with mobsters and it was real life. You're not going to go in there and just ask for whatever you want. You're going to try to keep it really cool, calm, collected.
Yeah. But I just feel like I get that. But Andrew was being so accommodating.
That's true.
That I was a little confused.
Yeah.
It's more about Susie and her trying to find herself than it is about Calabrese or anybody else trying to really intimidate her. We want to hear her story and how she's struggling to find the people that she can be natural with and who she's scared of.
That's true.
Yeah, absolutely.
Also, I wanted to say about the whole car scene, since we were talking about that. The biggest takeaway, first of all, I was thrown off by why are we drag racing now in this episode? It seemed really kind of out of place. I was like, you're in Vegas. Does this really make sense? But the big takeaway for me was Shy asking Midge about her personal life, if she had someone back home waiting for her. And I kind of felt like he was flirting with her and, testing the waters to see if he could kind of go there, which was really interesting. So we'll see where that goes. It was just a really subtle, small storyline, but I felt like maybe it could turn into more later. We'll see.
So speaking of maybe somebody waiting for her back home, let's talk about Joel and the club and that whole thing with Mai, because I feel like what they're doing this season so far is setting it up so that Midge might get with Shy, but that Joel might get with May.
Yeah.
And,
it's
May.
May.
And which it would be, to me, that when we first heard May's name, Maisel, like, I just thought, oh, that's the perfect name for somebody to have. So it just felt right to me. But we get this dancing scene. I wasn't sure. I could kind of sense that they sort of liked each other from the moment they met because they seemed interested.
Yeah.
But when we had this dancing scene, suddenly it became clear to me, they are definitely going here.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about all of that?
Well, my wife and I love lounge music from that era, and we actually had a CD back in the day when we got married, made a CD for everybody. But what I loved was the story was a universal story of love. It didn't matter that May was Chinese. Didn't matter that Joel was Jewish. It was two people who liked each other and flirting with each other. Oh, I did get the name of the song. That's how much I love the song.
Really? That's so funny.
It's called Tea Plucking and Catching Butterflies by Lily Chow.
Okay.
It's really an adorable song. Was that the question you asked? Because then I was thinking of the song title.
No, what you made, well, I mean, you answered it,
Okay.
but yeah, what you made of what you made of their dancing in general, which is very valid answer. My thought is, while they were dancing, and just in general as we've seen them on screen together, we'll get a little more later, but in this particular episode, I was noticing everybody else's reactions, and this is on May's side as well as Joel's side, and I don't think that Joel's friends are going to give him a problem, but they're probably very cognizant of what his family is going to say.
Definitely.
And I remember season 1, when the secretary came over, they already didn't like that she wasn't Jewish, let alone bring someone who is Chinese into that family. I just see them being, really obnoxious about it, and I feel like that's a good time to kind of talk about the Maisels because
oh my gosh,
we see how obnoxious they are to Midge's parents, to Abe and Rose, and I felt so bad for Abe and Rose in this episode. I was like, what? These people, Shirley especially. Moishe didn't bother me on the same level, but Shirley, come on, pick radio or pick TV. What are you doing?
They're just the hardest people to live with on the planet. I felt terrible like you did. You don't want to see them living there. It's just such chaos, and they had such calm and sort of elevated and elegant living before, and now they're here in this house with Shirley and Moishe, and it's not good, and they're not getting along at all, and the whole episode we're just seeing them bicker and kind of suffering through it all, and I feel terrible for them, and I really hope that their situation changes soon, and I'm like, come on guys, get it together, let's move out already. Right? Didn't you just, I'm impatient, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah. And I feel like we haven't quite reached the boiling point yet, but it feels imminent.
It does.
Yeah. Didn't Abe say it felt like a month? And Rose has to say, no, it was just a week.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've experienced this with my Jewish family, but I think, it's a universal thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I mean, most in-laws are annoying, so this is, it's very relatable.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, so I'm half Jewish, and so for me, it's like, what I find fascinating is watching the Jewish humor in this and watching how it's different for the Maisels versus Rose and Abe in terms of the way that they are. Like, to me, it's very familiar, but they are still, like, all four of them, very distinct characters.
Yes.
Yeah. But Shirley, like...
I know. I can't handle her.
Stop. Okay, so let's just, before we get to Vegas, because that's like the huge part of this,
I know.
let's talk about Susie going back to New York and dealing with Sophie. And specifically, she goes and she ends up meeting Gavin Hawke, who is played by Cary Elwes. For anyone not familiar, he is a British actor. He was in The Princess Bride. That was like one of his huge roles, but he is very known. So to see him was very interesting.
I know.
Yeah, voice very, very noticeable.
Yeah, Robin Hood Men in Tights, the Mel Brooks movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just I just, now that we're getting more of what Sophie's doing, though, I'm so worried for not only, I mean, poor Gavin Hawke. He actually seems like a legitimate actor.
Right.
He's not going to have this with Sophie.
He's stuck with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really brutal to watch the whole thing, and I am not a fan of Sophie Lennon's character at all. I don't know if you guys are, but yeah, she just rubs me the wrong way, and obviously she was really mean to Midge and totally against her and tried to sabotage her whole career, so I'm on Team Midge all the way, and I don't want to see Sophie succeed, even though she is now represented by Susie, so I want Susie to succeed, so it's kind of a weird storyline for me. I'm not a fan of hers, and she's just not killing it at all in the acting world, and especially on Broadway. She thinks she's so cool, but yeah,
absolutely.
Although Sophie's lines are incredible.
That's true. And Jane Lynch is incredible.
Jane Lynch
Let's
is
just
incredible.
Say that. I'm a huge Jane Lynch fan, so obviously she's an amazing actress.
Right. So Sophie says, because Sophie is more worried about not being sexually attracted to her co-star than actually being in the show.
Right.
Can I just say that I loved that moment where she compared it to a horse?
Oh, I've got the lines. I wrote them down.
Go ahead.
Sophie says, "What if Hawk's a horse I don't want to have sex with?" And then Susie retorts, "Meet the horse and see if he's someone you want to ride." I think it's brilliant writing, and thank you. The writing is so sharp,
so good,
and fits the character. So even when you hate a character like Sophie, it's such a meaty role from an actor's point of view. It's like, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
How could you play somebody like that? But that's what makes it so alive.
That's so true.
Absolutely. So, okay, let's get to our final topic before we get to segments. Yeah. Let's talk about Joel arriving in Las Vegas. I understood why Midge would call him there. I kind of felt it was going to go in that direction.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that Joel actually went.
Yeah, totally. She's homesick, and I was actually really excited that she called him because they kind of left it open to interpretation. Yes, they got a divorce, but they were still really close, and he's been so supportive, and he's watching the kids, and I was like, yeah, bring him out to Vegas, give him a vacay, come party with Midge, and I was really excited to see it, and then he came, and they had so much fun together, and then it all came tumbling down afterwards, so there was the whole waking up and they find out they're married, which was crazy, and I was not expecting that at all.
I was expecting they would hook up.
You were? Okay.
Not the marriage part though, but as soon as they started talking about being hungover, I was like, okay, this is Las Vegas. This is feeling like Hangover right now. What did they do? Why is she like pulling out her hand? What is that? Yeah. So as soon as they started talking about a really bad hangover, I was like, okay, they did something.
Who was it that realized first that they were?
He did.
Was it him, Joel?
Right?
Well, I thought she pulled out her hand and saw the ring, and they kind of realized together at the same time.
Okay.
I thought that's how it happened. But I had to go back. Yeah.
And then the pictures came out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have a ring? And I think it dawned on them.
Maybe that's true.
And then they saw the pictures. And which is just a complicated mess. Now, Midge said she was going to call her lawyer and take care of it. But they haven't mentioned it, so I mean, not to kind of jump ahead, but in this episode, I just got the feeling that she wouldn't take care of it.
Well, also, did you guys kind of get the feeling that she wasn't ready to jump to divorce again as quickly as he was? I felt like she was like kind of fine with it, like, okay, well, we did it, but like, I don't know. Did you get that feeling at all or no?
In this moment, I felt like she wanted to be with him.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
She was like feeling it again. She was like so excited he came to see her and they had this really fun time and romantic night and obviously got remarried. Maybe it was kind of meant to be, and he was not feeling it because of May, obviously.
Yeah. And that was really the moment. I mean, we had seen them dance, and we had seen that there was something there. Mm-hmm. But when Joel said, "I'm seeing May," I was like, okay, well, he's either jumping ahead and assuming something's going to happen, or they haven't shown us something that already has happened.
True.
Yeah. But that was the moment where it was out there.
I know, and it was kind of heartbreaking because it's like those people you still want to see get back together, and then that was the official, like, dun dun dun, he's not feeling it at all, and he's moved on, and she's going to have to move on now too, and is it going to be Shy? Is it going to be somebody else? Wait and see. But it was definite, like, he left Vegas in a rush and they were not on good terms, and it was bad.
And it's characteristic of him too, because he is obviously not against cheating. And
that's true.
And the thing is that if something has happened between May, like, I don't know, from a female's perspective, if I was even remotely starting to see somebody, I wouldn't rush off and sleep with my ex. Like, it just wouldn't work like that for me. Like, and even if it was like I wouldn't rush, I wouldn't meet them in another state. I would want to close the door if I'm starting to get to know somebody new.
But clearly that door for him had not been officially opened or closed yet, because he agreed to come to Vegas. After all, if he was serious already with May and they weren't showing us something, he wouldn't have gone there, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like he was maybe testing the waters. Could there still be something, with his ex, with Midge? Or is May a real possibility in his life? And I think maybe he figured it out in that moment. Like, I'm not going back down this path. You're in Vegas, you're touring, you're a comedian, you're this whole thing, you've moved on from our marriage, and now I'm moving on too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he's still got feelings for Midge. So I can see why he's torn in a way, doesn't really think about what he's doing, consequences, and then says, all right, I'm getting out of Vegas.
Yeah, because I'll say more about this in predictions, but I feel like whatever he might have with May could be foiled, like, beyond their families not liking it. It could be foiled for other reasons, but
that's true.
We'll get there in predictions.
Okay.
For now, let's just talk on one more thing, and that is at the end of all of this, when Midge is very heartbroken by the way things have ended, and Joel just leaves. She gets the call from her parents that things are really not going well. With Moishe and Shirley.
It's just so awkward, the whole thing. I don't know. I feel bad for them, and no one's happy there, and it sucks. And I know that Midge feels torn because she can't do anything, and she's like, hold out a little longer, you guys are going to be okay. And there's no other option. So
the child becoming the adult, and the adults becoming the children.
And the way that Abe was mistranslating what Midge was saying too, I was like, wow, he can't even like I don't know, it almost felt like he was doing it on purpose. But maybe he was just
it made me think of when we were kids and we were, crying through tears and saying, and this happened, and then he did this to me, and like you can't get it out fast enough, and somehow parents know how to actually translate child speak. So I felt like that was kind of the same thing reversed.
Absolutely.
She was talking them off the ledge for sure.
So I think that about wraps up our talk of this episode. Let's jump to our segments. We're gonna touch on news first.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Ashley?
I am a huge Instagram lover. I'm always following Maisel TV on Instagram and seeing what the latest is, and obviously Rachel Brosnahan too, because I love her. She's so amazing. And so recently I've seen a lot of stuff with sponsored posts on Instagram. So we're going to show you a picture of Rachel, and she's promoting Cetaphil lotion, which I love. She's doing a little sponsored content. She's so funny. And she's a blonde in real life, in case you have not seen her in real life, but she's so cute. And if you're not following her on Instagram, you definitely should. And another really cool thing that's happening that we're seeing on Instagram is the show actually sent influencers to different places where the show filmed. So they sent some of them to Vegas to really have the marvelous Mrs. Maisel experience in Vegas, and they stayed at hotels and went to all the places they shot. And then the same can be said for Miami too, which we're going to see Miami in the next episode, and the Fountain Blue and how they really transformed it. And it's so cool seeing these girls go and walk in the steps. And I'm such a super fan. I'm so angry that I was not sent to Miami or Vegas to go do this as well. But it looked amazing, and I'm so glad that some of the girls were sent out to really enjoy and explore the Maisel world.
Awesome. Lucky them.
I know.
So let's jump to our Women in Comedy section.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to talk about...
Whoa.
Oh, wait, what was that?
Late.
Is it Halloween? Was that the right sound? All right. Was that a laugh? There we go.
Yay.
Thank you. That's what. All right. So I want to talk about Joan Rivers. Joan Rivers was a trailblazing comedian born 1933, passed away in 2014. She's considered by many to be a pioneer of women in comedy by critics and journalists. Not only was she a comedian, but she marketed a line of jewelry and apparel on QVC. On the shopping channel. She authored 12 books, 3 comedy albums. She also had that show with her daughter on ETV, on E!
Fashion Police.
Right. Now, her break, she was actually a dramatic actress back in the 1950s, but moved to comedy. She tried to get into comedy and actually tried to get on The Tonight Show. That was the show. If you wanted to be a successful comedian, if you got on not only just got on The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, but he called you over to the couch after your set. You had it made. Oh. She tried to get on the show many times, could not get on. Finally, somebody helped her. She got on the show, got called over, and her life changed.
Wow.
But unfortunately, it changed again when she had her own talk show on Fox TV when Fox was new. She didn't consult with Johnny Carson, and he was really angry and basically banned her from ever appearing on the show ever again.
Wow.
And her show didn't work out right. So it wasn't until 26 years later, 6 months before she passed away, when she went back on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. He invited her to come back on the show shortly before she passed away.
That's amazing.
But she was strongly influenced by Lenny Bruce.
Wow.
Who was part of the show,
Oh my God. It's so cool to know that Lenny Bruce is a real person in real life, that they brought a few real characters onto the show. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And when we were looking at his picture, too, the actor who's portraying Lenny Bruce looks so much like him. It's crazy. But, that's just
and so some comedians influenced by Rivers, I'll wrap it up with this. Kathy Griffin, Sarah Silverman, Whitney Cummings, Chris Hardwick, Joey Behar, Whoopi Goldberg, Billy Crystal, Jon Stewart, David Letterman, all inspired. Howard Stern gave the eulogy at her service. 1,500 people showed up for her service.
Can I just tell you guys, I got to meet her.
Really?
At my first kind of internship job in LA. I was interning at E! And I was an intern for True Hollywood Story, but I was kind of volunteering to do Fashion Police internships too. And at that point, it was not a weekly or a daily show or anything like that. It was just when award shows happened. So it was Golden Globes, say, or Oscars. I'm not sure which it was that I actually interned and met her for, but I was like getting coffee and I was so starstruck. She was such a force to be reckoned with, and I ran into her many times in the hallways at E! She was just so amazing, and everyone loved her.
Wow.
They really thought of her as like a mom. She was a mentor to so many people. She was loved by so many people, and of course, she was hysterical. She always pushed the limits. She was always, just doing stuff that people really did not approve of. But she made such a name for herself, and she was a risk taker, and it paid off.
Right. There's an amazing documentary called Joan Rivers, A Piece of Work. I think it might be Netflix. But watch that. It's amazing.
I want to.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, my Spaceballs, one of my absolute favorite movies.
Yeah.
If you have not seen it, Joan Rivers, she plays a very significant character. That's all I'm going to say. You should definitely check that out. So, with the time that we have left, let's get to our predictions.
Okay.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Ashley, would you like to start?
I feel like I'm just really excited to see what's to come for Midge and where they're going to go next on tour and what's going to happen with the whole thing. And now that the door is closed with Joel, I feel like it really is final this time. I feel like she's going to have a new love interest, and I'm really hoping for that for her. And I'm hoping that she finds sort of happiness because I really want her I want happiness for her. I'm rooting for her.
I still think Joel and May, something's going to happen more with them. I think there's more about May than we know right now that's going to prove to be an issue with his family especially. And Susie's loving gambling more and more each episode.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that I feel like eventually Joel is going to be able to do what he wants and he's going to be able to date May. But what's going to be the issue is that she's going to find out that he did this, went to Las Vegas early on in what becomes their relationship. And plus the fact that he is technically remarried to Midge, I think that it's going to come to really, like, bite him, and that it's going to be the end of his relationship with her.
Wait, is May going to kill him off? Oh, my gosh. What?
Oh.
Spoiler alert.
Now, here's the other thing. Another thought I have is that her family, like, we know that they are illegally gambling.
Yeah.
So two thoughts is that somehow we get a link to Susie in this underground gambling when Susie comes back.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't put that together.
And that maybe it's like one of the issues that Joel ends up having is this family of gamblers who come after him for his relationship. So that's where I'm going to end.
You're going there, Rachel.
Okay.
Dark.
But Ashley, where can everybody find you?
You can follow me on Instagram at Ashley Fultz, ASHLEYFULTZ.
And Loren?
I'm at Loren Kling, and the cat Maisel is at the Meowvelous Mrs. Maisel.
And I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter at Rach Goodman or on my Instagram author account at Rachel Radner Author. Until next time, which will be in approximately 5 minutes, you can catch us here, and we'll be back shortly with episode 5.
Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.